I have always loved the way that games on Steam track the time that you've spent with them. The numbers don't lie. In fact, they tell a story. Going back through my Steam library, I can look at my hours spent on a game and when I last played it and be brought back to that period of my life when I was enveloped in this world and engaged with these characters and the role my choices played in their journey. Those same stats could also remind you of one Friday night where you got a little weird with your game purchases and quickly determined I'm way too high to play this. Sometimes you get a game and the numbers go up fast. Sometimes the numbers stay low. Sometimes the number is not what you feel like it should be. Like, I could tell you that Into the Breach is one of my favorite games from 2021, but I played it for 9 hours, the same amount of time I spent with Jackbox Party Pack 8. It's insane to me that I have 3 hours in Devil Daggers when the longest run ever recorded in this game is like 20 minutes. Sometimes I wish there were more hours in the day so that I could just put more time into these games proportional to the amount that I like them. Part of the reason that I purchased and built the computer that I am using to make this video was to play Pathologic 2. I put in 14 hours 18 months ago and uninstalled. I can't remember exactly why, but it probably had something to do with the game being more difficult than all video games in college. I've also experienced a few delayed hits in my Steam library where I got the game and bounced off it initially, but then some time passed and I'd give the game another shot, and this time it just hit extremely hard, it hit big, and the numbers have been going up ever since. This video is about those two most recent experiences. That feeling of being ahead of the curve, of knowing and exercising all of your options to extract the greatest amount of value, so that your emoji animals can hit better than the team of someone who's not as lucky or smart as you. This is the ethos of Super Auto Pets. My friends found it around the time when it came out and got way more into it than I did. I'll never forget being at the function with everyone, and out by the pool the boys are trading Auto Pets tips. It's like, okay, there must be something to this emoji game. It's literally free. What is to lose? How about 500 hours of my life? In Auto Pets, you build and grow teams of animals with health and damage stats and face other players' teams in the arena. Your goal is to win 10 matches before losing 4. Every shop phase you start with a base 10 gold, everything in the shop costs 3, it costs 1 to re-roll the shop, you can combine pets to level them up, making their abilities stronger, and pets can be sold for an amount of gold equivalent to their level. And then they fight. There's other stuff, but for the most part that's it. And I would say one of the major design strengths of Auto Pets is that the core mechanics are so airtight and simple that Team Wood Games can really just go buck wild with experimentation when it comes to the abilities for the units themselves. There definitely is a learning curve at the start. The first many arena matches you play are just learning what all of the units and items even do, and figuring out what the most practical usage of those functions are. For me, things really started to click when I grew to understand what I believe is the best early game item, the pill. The pill costs 1 gold and will make one of your friendly units faint. Initially it's like, why on earth would I want to do that? Well, many units, but especially units in the early game, have abilities that trigger upon them fainting, like the ant or the flamingo. So while that buff that they give is certainly nice in battle for a round or two, eventually their usefulness will fall off as more powerful pets unlock in the late game. So rather than selling the flamingo and netting 1 gold, you could have pilled the flamingo and apply its 1/1 buff to units of your choice that will carry your team further. You can combine text like this with units like the ox, or the shark, or the spinosaur, which all apply buffs when friendly pets faint. The pill teaches you that most abilities that are useful in battle are even more so in the shop, because nearly all upgrades in the shop are permanent. Auto Pets really is a game where you pop off in the shop. Expertly balancing your gold to have a perfect shop phase in the early game that distributes a ton of buffs to the team is often all it takes to get ahead of the curve, and it'll give you the momentum to get those 8, 9, and 10 win arena games. Cause let me tell you, especially at first, getting to 10 wins is not easy at all. Some of the teams people are rocking in the late game are so nasty and will probably leave new players like dumbfounded as to how stats like that are even achievable. Like, no exaggeration, you could likely play 100 arenas and not get 10 wins. But when you do... Okay, this team could do something. No, I just won. Oh my god. That was awesome, man. You're gonna be chasing that dragon for the rest of your life. And now that you know what it takes to get to 10 wins, it's easier to analyze why some of your runs end at 6, 7, 8, you know? Obviously, there is a decent element of luck involved, but there comes a point where you just know all the synergy so well that you can look at a shop and no matter what's available, it's like you're not even playing the game as much as the game is straight up telling you what to pick. And it feels really good to be that good. Like I said, the game is free, the devs are dope, the community is dope. The only downside is that there's no ranked mode. But maybe some of you think that's a good thing. The first time I tried to get into Risk of Rain 2 was years ago, when I was still a console and handheld only gamer, and I hadn't played very many roguelikes. I was working at a retro game store at the time, and I saw a physical copy of it for Switch, and I was like, wow dude, I've never seen this game before, it must be rare, and it'll probably be expensive someday. And when I started playing, I liked the game, but I was definitely dying a lot. There's like a heck ton of items, and it's like really difficult to remember what all of them do. The starting 2 characters that they give you are the Glass Cannon and the Worst One, and all of the other characters are locked behind objective-based challenges, some of which are extremely doable for new players. Beat the first stage 5 times? Cool. Beat stage 3? Okay. Beat 30 stages. You gotta put in some hours, but alright. Free the survivor suspended in the void. What? Obliterate yourself at the obelisk. No you. You see what I'm saying? It's not like these objectives can't be completed with enough playtime and intuition, but it is just one of the many ways that Risk of Rain 2 immediately demands a lot from the player if they want to experience all of the game's content, which in the modern gaming landscape is a brave and respectable decision from a design perspective. But at the same time, there's an artifact system that the game makes sure you know exists, but literally provides no in-game information beyond that. And that's why you should just play this game with friends, and on PC. Knowing one person who knows what all the items do and how to unlock characters is the best possible entryway into the game, and if they can help you unlock artifacts, even better. I've heard that you shouldn't play with artifacts if you want to get better at the game, and I agree to a certain extent. There's more than 3 artifacts in the game, but there's only 3 that you would actually want to unlock and use, and not just to say that you did it. Those being Command, which allows you to choose every item you collect, Sacrifice, which removes chests from the map and gives defeated enemies a chance to drop an item instead, and Swarms, which doubles the number of enemies while halving their health. With these 3 modifiers, even a novice player with basic item knowledge can completely bust their character and achieve back-to-back god runs on Monsoon difficulty. And it certainly is fun to do that. It feels very cool when enemies explode instantly just by being too close to you. But I feel like there comes a point where if that's the only way you play the game, you're just jerking yourself raw, man. It's like playing Smash with items on. Thankfully, there is a mode in the game specifically for when being God isn't fun anymore. Eclipse is essentially sweaty mode. It starts at the base Monsoon difficulty, no artifacts allowed, and adds negative modifiers to your runs each time you beat the game with a specific character up to Eclipse 8 because 7, 8, 9. And it gets pretty nutty. I have yet to beat Eclipse 1 with a single character, but it's already clear how these modifiers are meant to make you better by forcing you to adapt and pay extra attention to things that you may have taken for granted in normal runs. The nerf to your starting health in Eclipse 1 encourages prioritizing defensive items early on, and it's much more rewarding and necessary to avoid enemy attacks and to identify and defeat the most threatening enemies ASAP. It also just makes you more comfortable with having and playing at low health, which is important because that's going to happen a lot. And because I know that Eclipse 2 reduces the teleporter radius, and Eclipse 3 increases fall damage and makes it lethal, those are all things that I keep in mind while playing on Eclipse 1. It's fine to spend time not charging the teleporter if that means that you can live longer, and it's important to learn and utilize all the ways of negating or lessening fall damage because your health is precious and it will only get more so. There are also core mechanics to the Risk of Rain 2 experience that you just simply don't engage with artifacts on. Swarms by itself isn't too game-breaking, but Command makes all scrappers and 3D printers irrelevant, and Sacrifice essentially removes the need to explore the map outside of finding the teleporter. Since all items are dropped by enemies, you can effectively just camp the teleporter and let all the enemies come to you. For me, the game is at its best on Eclipse. The loop of run, gun, explore, loot, repeat is endlessly satisfying, and every run I feel like I'm finding ways to do it better. Unrelated to gameplay, the music is god tier. Chris Christodoulou repeatedly comes through with these slow and groovy tracks that shift and evolve reflective of your character's own growth as you explore and survive in these hostile landscapes. Every time I land on Distant Roost, I'm staying at least 5 minutes so I can appreciate the whole of evapotranspiration. Risk of Rain 2 started as an unwelcoming single-player experience, became a ridiculous dopamine blast of a party game, and now at 100 hours is looped back in on itself, becoming a game I primarily play alone, and it's extremely rewarding. Eclipse 8 is my new 10 wins. I expect to play potentially hundreds of runs before beating even Eclipse 1, a reality that would have made me quit had I known it upon initially playing for the first time, now makes me very excited. Almost as excited as I am to see which game in my Steam backlog I will obsess over next. Until then, thanks for watching.